Can you believe it has been over 10 days already since we first heard about Forza Horizon 6? And then it's coming out next year. But did you also know that you don't know things? And that's why you're here. And if you're like, Theo, I know everything, you are wrong. Because I don't know everything. Right, let's get that out of the way. We are talking about everything in this game that we kind of missed. Now that the dust has settled, the explosion has happened, and we know it's a thing. And we need to really reflect on extra details that have appeared since then, and also some little digging that the community has been doing, because the community does what the community must to find out everything about FH6. First things first, we're going to talk about progression. Now, we've heard from a few sources in the community, and for example, the track record based on the previous Forza Motorsport, that there may be some changes in this game, but I do think they have to take it kind of carefully. You see, Forza Horizon since FH2 and onwards has been more and more giving with the amount of cars and things that they throw at you constantly, and the praise and the, oh my god, you're the best person in the world. I kind of link all of that. But this game actually has a bit of a tagline that is seen here. Become a legend is what they keep kind of saying is the tagline for this game. Now, I'm going to be honest, the first time I heard this, my thought process was, okay, fine, be a legend. It doesn't really say anything to me in my soul, but then you kind of look at the other games, including Forza Horizon 5 that just came out, and absolutely nowhere can you find any mention of anything of the like. What you've got is explore the vibrant open world landscapes of Mexico with limitless fun, driving action in the world's greatest cars, and then even further down the page, your ultimate Horizon adventure awaits. Explore the vibrant, explore, open, diverse, explore. That is the tagline situation that we got with Forza Horizon 5. So this could be actually something significantly different for the Horizon series, and it would follow the suit of Forza Motorsport, the most recent Forza Motorsport, because what they did there is very similar. They took a game that had gone from being a progression-focused game to being give you everything because we need the Horizon people to keep playing the game, and then they took a stance of being quite a grindy game by comparison, and then toning it down. What I think we're going to find here is the results of the findings with Forza Motorsport. I think, even though I'm a big progression guy, they got that wrong, and they made adaptations later which were a little bit jank, but over time they changed even more, and they got to a result they were mostly happy with. I think we're going to see the fruits of the labors there, and the findings out, and the so on, which maybe more so giving in that it is Forza Horizon, and not Forza Motorsport, which is supposed to be more serious sim racing. So I'm very curious to how this is going to go, but right now I'm a little bit on the side of like, actually, yeah, there's probably going to be more progression, which is great. Next up, we're going to talk about the technical side. And this piece right here, this little snippet, tells you a little bit more about the idea behind as to why they think it's time for FH6 to go to Japan. I'm sure you've heard it. They're saying that it is now time, after doing all the work and the groundwork, and they're finally at the height of their abilities. And so now it is time for FH6 to be in Japan, the place of places. If you get Japan wrong, it is way over. You will never probably recover from the absolute devastation of messing up Japan, not only from the people of the car community, but also the Japanese. They're very, very, don't get it wrong. So they're talking about the technical side being ready. So they're ready personally with the technical ability. And this is really, really cool. In Forza Horizon 5, there was a DLC that basically had the Hot Wheels map that had maps going over the top of each other. And they were like, now we're able to technically get there. But the question in my mind, realistically, is, yes, that's been done now. They will likely be swapping to the new Forza Motorsport engine. This is something that's obvious. So any work that they did do, they're going to have to redo it again. But hey, they've done it once. Now get it done again. At least that's what's perceived, because to us, they built everything from the ground up on the new engine, which basically means that surely you have to make this again, right? Otherwise, why did Forza Motorsport get rid of everything? Yeah, it's a good question. But anyway, what we're talking about here is the Xbox One is done. It is in the bin. It is gone. It is get rid of that crap. You now need to get an Xbox Series S, X, PS5 in the future, or PC to play this new Horizon game, which means we elevate the baseline of performance, which basically means we finally get to use basically the full power of the Xbox Series S. Mostly what that's going to be is you are going to see that's built into the new engine is those super quick SSD loading times. I don't know if you can comprehend this, but we're going from games that are cross-generation to running, say, for example, even Gran Turismo is running on a PS4, which has got a mechanical hard drive We're talking about 80 megabytes a second, jumping up to 5,000 with the generation of SSDs that are in the PlayStation and the Xbox console. Now, they do have to remember that PC is going to have some up and down, but realistically, PCs adopted a solid-state SSDs way before. They may be a bit slower, but to be fair, any game that says it requires an SSD, I've still to this day not seen many performant games that don't run as well on like a hard drive, except maybe like Ratchet and Clank when it does its loading, but like beyond that, it's all kind of smoke and mirrors. Like, come on. My 120 megabyte hard drive is plenty enough. Anyway, I could go all day about this, but basically expect a new level of quality in the line of like Forza Motorsport, but in the idea of it being open world, it's going to be quite interesting because that engine struggles. And so we'll see what it's going to be like. On the internet, people created this. You can see the size of the next Forza Horizon map is going to be huge. And we're talking about world right here, because not just the map, but the world is likely the most important part outside of the fact of progression and getting that all kind of right. We know Forza does the driving right. It absolutely smashes the competition in terms of like the accessibility, but at the same time feeling more depth than a lot of other games. People praise this to be the best arcade handling ever made. Some people's opinion is that, but I think it's pretty good. It's pretty solid, and I will say, if they get the world wrong, it all goes down the damn toilet. With the map being bigger, that is always something that's a little bit scary, because if you look at, say, The Crew, which is a competing series, that game had a problem with the map being so large, they kind of lacked in the quality that's available, say, in the later game with The Crew Motorfest. The bigger you do a map, the less detail there usually is involved in these maps, because it takes so much more effort to detail and populate these small things, but also the tax on performance depending on how you load those in. But with those beautiful SSDs, we shouldn't be having an issue there. They talk about layered environments, which is very, very exciting. Now, this again comes from the tech that was available because of what they did in a previous Forza Horizon game, multiple previous Horizon games, with the Hot Wheels map tracks going over the top of each other. And if you really think about it for a second, when you're playing Forza Horizon, there really isn't much like elevation. Think of Japan. When you think of Japan, you imagine the highways being way above in the sky and you being like above the city. Whereas underneath, there's people and there's an experience, there's something going on. That is something that's going to be difficult to capture. I can't picture a Forza game that has like overpasses in that same capacity. Not in the immense depth of Japan. That is probably going to be a very interesting new challenge for them, because again, that is the first time they're going to be doing something like that, other than Hot Wheels expansions, which doesn't have big cityscapes that you're doing that around. So in this, they did mention that they brought in an expert team to guide them on what the world of Japan is going to be like, or should be like, to represent it to the best extent. But bringing it back down to earth, they did the exact same thing for Forza Horizon 5. And what that kind of equated to was we got something about the Volkswagen Votro thing and the Beetle, and we get some random sentences of them saying things that we can't comprehend, which is, it's fine. That's like, I get it. That's kind of, you'd think, oh, we're gonna do a place justice. We gotta say some of the words they say. It's like, it's like a lot of games today. They're like, oh, we gotta slip in a bro, slip in a fam. We're gonna make a game urban, you get me? I'm sorry. Look, this could be good. They could have found the right person this time. This person interested in cars. And maybe last time it was more just like a cultural team. So there's a slight change there. So we're going to see exactly what that means. I think overall, they're doing everything right here. Having the not just elevation, but the layered style where you've got roads underneath, highway on top, and getting those two themes right, and the amount of traffic and the amount of detail and density, but along with the tall buildings that you don't normally get, because I need to see those buildings not only from the ground, but above the ground too. This is something that they didn't even do in the UK. In London, there's plenty of that, where there's roads on top of roads, and there's buildings kind of layered. It's kind of crazy. They did Edinburgh in Forza Horizon 4. They're from the UK, these developers. And did you know, in Edinburgh, there is a city underneath the city? I haven't seen it, but it sounds pretty cool, and I need to go back to see it. And on to another important category. Oh, it's super important over here. Every category is important. Everything matters in this situation. You are the biggest racing franchise, and you're about to drop your next game. What's important? Cars. That's right, we're talking about the cars. Now, they didn't really touch upon the cars stuff very much. That stuff is kind of a given. Forza Horizon has had the most cars added to the game for any game for a really long time. Car manufacturers are lining up at the gate of the Playground Games and Turn 10 and they're like, let me in. Because quite honestly, a lot of the time, it's normally the cases with most racing games, the developers have to reach out, or the licensing teams have to reach out to the car manufacturers and say, can we get your car in the game? And sometimes it doesn't ever happen. I mean, look at any of the games you play and there will be a car brand missing that's like, why is that not there? Car brands are old business. And ultimately, if they see a racing game absolutely popping off that is the most PG shit you've ever seen, it's going to be easier than ever to have the most cars in a game. But this is where things are going to get a little bit interesting because Forza Horizon has always played it incredibly safe. There's no cops. There's no illegality. There's not any swearing. Everything is just very, very safe because brands prefer that. And that's why they've been allowed to have basically any car they could possibly want. But now they're going to have to do this a little bit differently. When it comes to getting licensed cars for Japan and then actually representing the culture of Japan, what they're going to have to do is not only represent the K cars and the K vans and the customization and the drifting and the, you know, Japan. They have got to cut up these damn cars, adding wide body kits produced by some of actual Japan residents, usually hiding away in their sheds, building these body kits and taping them on with duct tape, and then sell this idea to not only them to put it into the game, that they've got to get Japan right to actually be allowed to do this. They've also got to then go to the car manufacturers and say, look, this is a big part of your car culture. Like, I can imagine already, some brands are going to be very open to it and some brands are not. And what's weird is I think Toyota is actually going to be one of the ones that are actually a little bit more difficult to get on their newer cars to allow this type of stuff. They are definitely a lot more reserved in Japan these days about this type of thing. They sell us on the dream of being able to customize and do all these amazing things with these amazing cars, but at the same time, out of reality, usually if you're souping up your car, you're doing something quite illegal. So this is gonna be kind of an interesting time. Whichever camp you are in terms of Assassin's Creed, they had to make some changes to the game to cater towards that environment. And thankfully, it actually wasn't too crazy, but as the rest of the world, including Japan more recently with their new prime minister, from what I've heard, and not doing a massive amount of research, but from a lot of the world right now, we are all very aggressively running towards the right, is what I would say, and conservative values and like, we will keep ourselves as we are. And so any kind of blending in of like any culture from other parts of the world, which is what Forza Horizon is kind of known for, that's going to be quite interesting to see how that goes, because Japan is getting a little aggressive, to say the least. And then a bunch of the English festival people come and say, wow, I'm going to teach you about Japan. All right, let's see. Either way, I'm very excited to be going to Japan, and I'm excited at the position that Forza is in because it is the biggest it has ever been, but it is also probably the most terrifying position because they could absolutely bottle it. But I'm leaning on hope. I have hope for these guys because they've been doing some good stuff. No one can deny that Forza Horizon has had incredible post-launch support, and so I'm expecting that to continue. And Japan is the perfect game to hit at the height of your popularity of your franchise. And can you believe it? We got through a whole Forza Horizon 6 video without once mentioning GTA. Bugger.